The caregiver sang softly to the old man, unaware. His millionaire son was watching and changed her life. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get into today's story. On a quiet and cold evening, in a small, dimly lit room of a private care facility, Anna, a young caregiver, hummed a soft lullaby as she gently adjusted the blanket on the elderly man lying in bed. She was not aware that his son, David, a millionaire who had been estranged from his father for years, was standing just outside the door, watching her every move. David had never imagined that he would return to his father's side, let alone witness such a tender moment between a stranger and the man who had once been a powerful figure in the business world. Anna, with her kind heart and unwavering dedication, did not see the man's wealth, only his frailty and need for care. As she continued her quiet song, her voice filled the room with warmth, a stark contrast to the coldness of the world outside. For David, the sight was a revelation, and it sparked something deep inside him that he hadn't felt in years: guilt, curiosity, and an overwhelming sense of admiration for the woman who cared for his father without expecting anything in return. Little did Anna know, her simple act of kindness, one that she did not think twice about, was about to change her life forever. David, moved by her actions, began to question his own life, the wealth and privileges he had long taken for granted. He had spent so many years hiding behind his success, focused on building an empire, that he had forgotten the value of compassion and genuine human connection. That evening, as Anna finished her shift and left the room, David's mind raced. He couldn't shake the image of her caring for his father with such tenderness. His heart, once closed off by years of resentment and pride, began to open. But there was something else that weighed on him. He couldn't let her know who he was yet. He wanted to understand her, to learn if she was truly the person he believed her to be, or if his perception of her was just a momentary emotional response. He had to find out, and he had to do it without revealing his identity. So, he decided to follow her, to learn more about the woman who had unknowingly captured his heart. As Anna walked through the cold streets, unaware of David's watchful eye, her thoughts were occupied with the struggle she faced every day. She was exhausted, overworked, and barely getting by, but her love for her job and the elderly man in her care kept her going. She was used to the long hours and the loneliness, but tonight felt different. Tonight, there was something in the air, something that told her that change was coming, though she had no idea what it would be. The caregiver sang softly to the old man, unaware his millionaire son was watching and changed her life. The next morning, Anna woke up in her small apartment, the cold light of dawn creeping through the curtains. She had just finished another long night of care at the facility, and the weight of exhaustion hung over her like a heavy blanket. As she moved through her morning routine, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was different. She had barely thought about the elderly man's son, David, who had watched her the previous evening. But somehow, his presence lingered in her mind. The softness of his gaze, the way he had silently observed her from the doorway, those memories kept replaying in her head. Little did she know, David's thoughts were equally consumed by her. After leaving the facility last night, he had walked the streets for hours, unable to shake the images of Anna caring for his father so tenderly. He had been moved, not just by her compassion, but by the way she carried herself. She wasn't seeking anything in return. She simply cared. In a world where everyone seemed to want something, Anna's selflessness was a rare sight. David had returned home that night, but sleep was elusive. His mind raced with thoughts of the woman who had unknowingly stirred something in him. He had never seen his father so calm, so peaceful, despite his frailty. All it had taken was Anna's gentle presence. He wondered what her life was like, who she was when she wasn't taking care of his father. And so, David made a decision. He would find her, not as a millionaire trying to make a connection, but as a man curious about the person who had touched his heart. He didn't want to reveal his identity just yet. He needed to understand her without the influence of his wealth. Over the next few days, David quietly observed Anna from afar. He saw her at the small cafe near her apartment, grabbing a cup of coffee before starting her day, and he noted the way she spoke to the barista with the same warmth and kindness she had shown his father. It was in the little things: her smile, her willingness to listen, the way she didn't seem to take anything for granted. Anna's life was a constant struggle. Every paycheck barely covered her bills, and her dreams of someday starting her own business felt out of reach. She had always put others first, often neglecting her own needs. She had no idea that the man watching her, who she thought was just another stranger, was the very person who could change her life forever. One day, as she walked to work, David decided it was time. He approached her, walking slowly but with purpose. Anna was lost in thought as she made her way down the street, when she suddenly heard a voice call out to her. "Excuse me, miss?" She turned, startled to find a man standing in front of her. He was well dressed, his clothes sharp and expensive, yet his expression was warm, almost gentle. For a moment, Anna didn't know what to make of him. "Yes?" she asked, her voice tentative. David smiled, a soft, disarming smile. "I saw you at the cafe a few days ago," he began, his tone casual. "I hope I'm not interrupting your day, but I wanted to say I really admire the way you treat people. It's rare to see someone so kind." Anna blinked, unsure of how to respond. She was used to people avoiding eye contact or dismissing her as just another worker. But this man was different. He was complimenting her, not for her appearance, but for her heart. "Thank you," she replied, her voice softening. "That's very kind of you to say." David took a step closer, lowering his voice slightly. "I've been thinking a lot about kindness lately," he continued. "It's something that's been missing in my life, and I'd like to learn more about it, about how it feels to give without expecting anything in return." Anna was caught off guard by his honesty. She had no idea why he was saying these things to her, but she couldn't help but feel a strange connection to him. David noticed her hesitation and smiled. "I know this might sound strange, but would you like to grab a coffee sometime? Maybe talk more about life?" Anna was hesitant. She didn't want to seem rude, but she also wasn't sure if she was ready to open up to a stranger. Still, something about him felt genuine, and she agreed, albeit with a touch of uncertainty. "Sure," she said. "I don't see why not." As they walked to the nearby cafe together, David felt a sense of anticipation building inside him. He knew he wasn't just meeting Anna for coffee. He was meeting someone who could change his perspective on everything. And Anna, though she didn't realize it yet, was about to be drawn into a world that she had never imagined, one where her kindness would not only change someone else's life, but also her own. The caregiver sang softly to the old man, unaware. His millionaire son was watching and changed her life. The following week, Anna met David for coffee at the small cafe they had agreed on. She wasn't entirely sure what to expect, but as they sat down at a quiet corner table, she found herself surprisingly comfortable in his presence. He had that rare quality of being both composed and genuinely attentive, making her feel like her words mattered. David, on the other hand, was trying to keep his emotions in check. He had been deeply moved by Anna's kindness, not only to his father, but to everyone she encountered. He had never met anyone who was so selfless, so fully invested in making the world a better place, even if that meant sacrificing her own happiness. He had spent so much of his life focused on acquiring wealth, climbing the corporate ladder, and building his legacy. But something about Anna made him question the very values he had lived by for so long. As the conversation continued, David found himself opening up in a way he hadn't done in years. He told Anna about the challenges he had faced in his own life, the pressure of living up to his family's expectations, the weight of managing a multi-million-dollar company, and the strain of a broken relationship with his father. He had always kept people at arm's length, afraid to let anyone in. But with Anna, it was different. She listened without judgment, offering only the kind of empathy that could only come from someone who had seen hardship up close. Anna, in turn, shared her own story, the struggles of growing up in a family that never quite had enough, the pressure of paying bills that seemed to multiply every month, and the dream she had of starting her own small business someday. She talked about her love for caring for others, but also the toll it had taken on her personal life. As she spoke, she couldn't help but feel a small spark of hope. David's genuine interest in her life, in her as a person, made her believe that maybe, just maybe, her dreams were within reach. After they finished their coffee, David stood to leave, but not before offering Anna a small smile. "I'm really glad we met today," he said. "You've given me a lot to think about." Anna nodded, a soft smile playing on her lips. "I'm glad too," she replied, though she wasn't sure what to make of his words. She didn't know what it was, but something about him felt different, like there was more to him than what he was showing on the surface. Over the next few weeks, David continued to find ways to spend time with Anna. He would visit the care facility to check on his father, sometimes staying just long enough to exchange a few words with Anna before leaving. Each time, he found himself more drawn to her, not just for her beauty, but for the warmth that radiated from her. She was like a quiet light in the world, someone who could see beyond the surface, beyond the struggles, and still find a reason to smile. Anna, however, remained unsure of his intentions. She had grown accustomed to people being kind to her out of obligation or pity, but David seemed different. He didn't look at her like she was a charity case or someone to be saved. He looked at her as though she was someone worthy of respect, someone who had something valuable to offer the world. One evening, as Anna was finishing her shift at the care facility, David came by to visit. This time, he was different. He wasn't just the quiet, composed businessman she had come to know. There was something more vulnerable in his eyes, a kind of longing that she couldn't quite place. He didn't waste any time with pleasantries. "Anna," he said, his voice soft but urgent, "I've been thinking about something, and I need to ask you." Anna paused, her heart beating a little faster. She had a feeling she knew what was coming, but she didn't want to jump to conclusions. "What is it?" she asked. David took a deep breath, his eyes searching hers. "I know this might sound strange, but I want to offer you a job. Not just any job, but something that could help you achieve everything you've been working so hard for. I can help you get your business off the ground, give you the financial support you need to make it happen. But that's not all. I want to help you realize your dreams, Anna. I want to be a part of your journey." Anna was stunned. She had spent her whole life working hard just to get by, never imagining that someone like David could offer her such an opportunity. But there was something in his words that made her hesitate. Was this just another attempt to buy her affection? To fix her problems with money? "Why me?" she asked softly, her voice laced with uncertainty. "Why would you want to help me?" David stepped closer, his eyes never leaving hers. "Because you've reminded me of something I lost a long time ago," he said, his voice full of emotion. "You've reminded me that there's more to life than success and wealth. There's kindness, there's love, and there's the ability to make a real difference in the world. And I believe you can do that, Anna. I believe in you." His words hit her like a wave, and for the first time in a long while, Anna felt a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, her life was about to change in ways she had never imagined. The caregiver sang softly to the old man, unaware his millionaire son was watching, and changed her life. After David's offer to help Anna get her business started, she found herself lost in thought, unable to sleep that night. His words echoed in her mind, over and over. Could she really take him up on his offer? She had always struggled to make ends meet, but the thought of finally achieving her dreams was something she had only dared to imagine. The next few days were a blur of emotions. Anna went to work at the care facility, her mind preoccupied with the offer she had received. She continued her daily routine, caring for the elderly patients, but her heart wasn't fully in it anymore. She couldn't stop thinking about the opportunity David had presented to her. At the same time, doubts crept in. Was this really the right move for her? Would accepting David's help mean she was giving up her independence? She had always been so self-reliant, but this was a chance to break free from the cycle of financial struggle. The more she thought about it, the more she realized that David was offering her more than just financial help. He was offering her a chance to build a future, to create something of her own, to turn her dreams into reality. The next time David called, Anna knew what she had to do. "I've thought about your offer," she said, her voice steady but uncertain, "and I've decided to accept, but I need to know something first. Why are you doing this? What's in it for you?" There was a brief pause on the other end of the line before David answered. "It's not about what's in it for me, Anna. It's about seeing someone with potential, someone who is doing the right thing for the right reasons, and knowing that they deserve a chance. I've spent too much of my life focused on success and money. I want to help someone who cares about people, who is driven by something other than personal gain. That's why I'm offering you this opportunity. I believe in you, His words struck Anna deeply. She had never been one to accept help easily, but David's sincerity was undeniable. "I'm just afraid I'll let you down," she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. "I've never been given a chance like this before. What if I fail?" David's voice softened. "You won't fail, Anna. You have the heart, the drive, and the determination. I'm not offering you this because I think you need saving. I'm offering it because I believe in your ability to succeed." Anna took a deep breath, her hands trembling slightly as she held the phone. She knew that this was the turning point, the moment where she had to take a leap of faith. "Okay," she said, her voice gaining strength. "I'm in. Let's do this." Over the next few weeks, David and Anna worked together to plan her future. He introduced her to people who could help her get started, offering advice and guidance every step of the way. Anna found herself in a world she had never imagined, one filled with opportunities, connections, and resources. With David's support, she began to build her business from the ground up, pouring her heart and soul into every detail. But it wasn't just her business that was changing. Her relationship with David began to grow, too. They spent more time together, discussing everything from their hopes for the future to their pasts. David opened up about his struggles with his family, the pressures he had faced as a businessman, and the loneliness that had come with it all. Anna, in turn, shared her deepest fears and dreams, the things she had always kept hidden from others. As they continued to work together, Anna realized that she was not only gaining a business partner, but also a true friend. She had never felt so supported, so understood. And as for David, he found himself falling for Anna, not just because of her kindness and determination, but because of the way she made him feel alive, hopeful, and connected to something real. One evening, as they were wrapping up a meeting at her small office, David looked at her with an intensity that took Anna by surprise. "Anna," he said, his voice soft yet steady, "I know we've been working together for a while now, but I have to tell you something. I've grown to care for you more than I ever expected, and I want you to know that I'm not just here for your business. I'm here for you." Anna felt her heart race as his words sank in. She hadn't expected this, hadn't even thought about it, really, but as she looked into his eyes, she realized that she felt the same way. It wasn't just the business anymore. It was something deeper, something real. She smiled, her voice trembling slightly. "I care about you too, David," she admitted, her words soft but sincere. And in that moment, they both knew that this was only the beginning of a new chapter in their lives, one that would change everything they thought they knew about love, success, and the power of second chances. The caregiver sang, softly to the old man unaware. His millionaire son was watching and changed her life. As the weeks passed, Anna's life began to shift in ways she had never imagined. With David's support, her business slowly started to take shape. What once seemed like an impossible dream was becoming a reality, and the fear she had felt about her future began to fade. David, who had been her greatest source of support, continued to stand by her side, not just as a business partner, but as someone she had come to care deeply about. They spent long hours working together, refining her business plans, discussing strategies, and even sharing quiet moments that spoke volumes. As their bond deepened, Anna found herself grappling with emotions she hadn't anticipated. She had never been one to rely on others, especially not on someone as wealthy and powerful as David. Yet, with each passing day, she realized that what they had was far more than just a business partnership. It was something real, something that went beyond success and money. One evening, after a long day at the office, Anna and David sat on the small balcony of her apartment, watching the sunset. The sky was a soft orange, and the air was filled with the peaceful hum of the city below. David turned to Anna, his eyes filled with a mix of admiration and something deeper. "Anna," he began, his voice quiet, "I've been thinking a lot about what you've done for me, for my father, and for your business. You've shown me a side of life that I didn't know existed. And I don't just mean business. I'm talking about something more. You've made me realize that there's more to life than money and success. There's meaning, there's love, and there's the connection we share with others. I can't imagine my life without you in it." Anna's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't expected him to say anything like this. She had always believed that her success, her happiness, was something she had to earn on her own. But David's words, the sincerity in his voice, made her question everything she had ever known. She looked at him, her voice soft but steady. David, I never thought I would find someone who truly understood me. Someone who saw beyond my struggles, beyond my dreams of starting a business. You've given me so much more than just financial support. You've given me the courage to believe in myself, to see my worth in ways I never could before. And for that, I'm grateful." The moment hung between them, heavy with unspoken feelings. David reached out, gently taking her hand in his. "I want to be more than just someone who helps you with your business," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "I want to be the person who's there for you, through everything. I want to be the person who stands by your side, not just in business, but in life." Anna's breath caught in her throat. She had never imagined that someone like David, someone who had everything, could want to be there for her in this way. It was a moment that changed everything. "I don't know what the future holds," Anna said softly, her voice barely above a whisper, "but I know that I want to be a part of it with you." David smiled, his eyes filled with warmth and affection. "Then let's make that future happen, together." As the days turned into weeks, Anna and David's relationship grew stronger. They continued to work side by side, each challenge bringing them closer together. The more time they spent together, the more they realized how much they had in common. Both of them had been shaped by their pasts, David by the weight of his family's expectations and his own pursuit of success, Anna by the struggles she had faced and the dreams she had fought to keep alive. But through it all, they had found something in each other that neither of them had expected: love. One evening, as they were sitting in her office, Anna looked at David, her heart full of gratitude. "You've changed my life," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "And not just with the business. You've shown me what it means to truly live, to not just survive, but to thrive. I never thought I'd be here, with everything I've ever wanted." David reached across the desk, taking her hand in his. "You're the one who's done the hard work, Anna," he said gently. "You're the one who made this happen. I'm just glad I could be a part of it." Their eyes met, and in that moment, Anna knew that everything was falling into place. She had found success, but more importantly, she had found love. A love that was built on trust, respect, and a shared vision for the future. It was a love that would carry them both forward, no matter what challenges lay ahead. And for the first time in her life, Anna truly believed that anything was possible. With David by her side, she was ready to face whatever came next. The future was theirs to build, together. The caregiver sang softly to the old man unaware. His millionaire son was watching and changed her life. As Anna and David's relationship grew stronger, so did their bond, both professionally and personally. The days seemed to pass in a blur as they worked side by side to build the business Anna had always dreamed of. With David's expertise and resources, they made great strides. Anna was no longer just a caregiver. She was a businesswoman, an entrepreneur, and with each step, she felt more and more empowered. But despite the successes they were achieving, Anna couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. She loved working with David, and she loved how their relationship had blossomed. But deep down, there was a nagging feeling that she wasn't truly living up to her potential. She had come so far, but the weight of her past still lingered. She had spent years struggling to make ends meet, always thinking of others first, and never allowing herself to fully embrace her own dreams. Now that she was building something real, something she had worked so hard for, Anna wondered if she had the strength to fully step into her new life. One evening, after a long day at the office, Anna sat alone in her apartment, her mind racing with thoughts. She stared at the business plans spread out in front of her, the notes David had left her, the milestones they had already hit. She knew they were on the verge of something big, but something in her still held back. The door to her apartment opened, and David walked in, a smile on his face. "Long day?" he asked gently, his voice soothing. Anna nodded, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. "I've been thinking," she began, her voice uncertain, "about everything we've accomplished. It's amazing. But I can't help but feel like I'm not really living up to my full potential, like there's still something holding me back." David walked over to her, sitting beside her at the small table. "What do you mean?" he asked, his tone understanding. Anna took a deep breath. "I don't know. I've been working so hard for this, but I still feel like I'm not doing enough. I'm still tied to the past, to the struggles I've been through. I'm afraid that no matter how much we succeed, I'll never truly be free of that weight." David reached out, taking her hand in his. "You've already come so far, Anna. You've built something incredible from the ground up. And I've watched you grow, not just as a businesswoman, but as a person. It's okay to have doubts, but don't let them hold you back. You've proven that you can rise above anything. Anna looked at him, her heart heavy with emotion. But what if I fail? What if I'm not enough? David smiled softly, squeezing her hand. You're already more than enough. You've already shown the world what you're capable of. And I believe in you, Anna. I always will. His words were like a balm to her soul. For the first time in a long time, Anna felt a flicker of hope. Maybe she wasn't as broken as she had always thought. Maybe, just maybe, she was ready to step into her future. The next morning, Anna woke up with a new sense of clarity. She had made peace with her past, and with David's unwavering support, she was ready to embrace the future. As she walked into the office that day, something was different. There was a new energy in her step, a renewed sense of purpose. She knew there would still be challenges ahead, but she was ready to face them head-on. She wasn't alone anymore. She had David by her side, and together, they could overcome anything. Over the next few months, Anna's business grew even more successful. The confidence she had gained from David's belief in her gave her the strength to push forward. She wasn't just surviving anymore, she was thriving. But as their success grew, so did the tension in their relationship. David's commitment to the business often kept him busy, and Anna found herself feeling like they were drifting apart. She missed the quiet moments they had shared when everything had felt simpler. It wasn't just the business that had brought them together, it was the connection they had built. Anna knew they needed to find a balance, or they risked losing what they had. One evening, as they sat down to dinner after a long day of work, Anna looked at David with a serious expression. "We need to talk," she said, her voice steady. David looked at her, sensing the weight in her tone. "What's on your mind?" he asked, setting his fork down. "I love what we're building together," Anna began. "But I don't want to lose what we have. The business is important, but so are we. I miss spending time with you, the way we used to. We need to make sure we're not so caught up in our success that we forget about each other." David's face softened, and he reached across the table, taking her hand in his. "You're right," he said. "I've been so focused on the business that I've lost sight of what really matters. I don't want to lose you, Anna. I'll do better." Anna smiled, her heart swelling with love for him. They had come so far, and they knew that together they could build not just a business, but a life one that was full of love, balance, and fulfillment. And with that, they both knew that this was just the beginning of their journey together. The caregiver sang softly to the old man unaware. His millionaire son was watching and changed her life. As the days passed, Anna and David found their relationship falling into a delicate rhythm, one that balanced their professional success with personal connection. Anna had finally found a sense of peace within herself, feeling more confident in her role as a businesswoman. Her company was thriving, and the vision she once thought was impossible had now become a reality. Still, there was a sense that something was missing, something they had yet to fully address. As much as they had come to rely on one another for support, there was still the lingering tension of David's secret, his identity as the wealthy son of the elderly man who had once been a part of her life. It was a secret that had remained untouched for months, and Anna had begun to wonder when, or if, David would ever tell her the truth. She had learned so much about him, about his passion for business, his willingness to help others, and the emotional weight he carried. But she still didn't know everything about his past. She didn't know the full story of his family, nor the reason he had kept his identity hidden for so long. One evening, as they sat together in her office, Anna finally decided that she couldn't wait any longer. She had to know. "David," she said softly, her voice steady but filled with curiosity, "I need to ask you something. It's about your father. You've never really told me much about him. I know you've been helping me build my business, but I feel like I don't know everything about you." David looked at her, his eyes softening as he set down the documents he was holding. He had known this moment would come, but he hadn't expected it to be so soon. He had kept his secret for so long, not out of malice, but out of a fear that it would change how Anna saw him. He knew it was time to tell her the truth. "I've been avoiding this conversation for a while," David admitted, his voice quiet. "But you deserve to know. My father is the man you've been caring for, the one who's been in your care at the facility. I'm his son. I didn't want you to know. Not because I was hiding anything from you, but because I didn't want you to think that my feelings for you were based on my wealth. I wanted you to see me for who I truly am, not just as the son of a millionaire." Anna's breath caught in her throat as his words sank in. She had never expected this, and yet, in some way, it made sense. She thought back to all the times she had cared for his father, to the moments when David had quietly appeared in the background, offering his support without ever fully revealing his identity. "You're his son?" Anna asked, her voice barely a whisper. "I had no idea," David nodded. "I know. I kept it hidden because I didn't want to complicate things. But now I realize that hiding the truth from you only made things harder. You've come to mean so much to me, Anna. More than I ever expected. I didn't want to jeopardize what we have by keeping secrets." Anna took a deep breath, trying to process everything she had just learned. She had always admired David for his kindness and his willingness to help. But now she realized that he had been carrying a heavy burden, one that had shaped the way he viewed the world and his relationships. "David," she said, her voice steady, "I don't care about your wealth. I never did. I care about you, the person you are, the way you've treated me, the way you've supported me. That's what matters to me." David's heart swelled with relief as Anna spoke. He had feared that the truth would change everything, that she would see him differently, but her words reassured him. "I'm glad you feel that way," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I've been afraid that this would change things between us, but hearing you say that, it means everything." As the night went on, they continued to talk, sharing their hopes, their fears, and their dreams for the future. It was a conversation that brought them closer, a moment of vulnerability that allowed them to see each other in a new light. They both knew that the road ahead would have its challenges, but for the first time, they felt ready to face them together. The next day, as they continued to work on the business, Anna felt a newfound sense of clarity. David's secret had been a barrier, but now that it was out in the open, they could truly move forward. She realized that their bond was stronger than any secret or obstacle they might face. With each passing day, they grew closer. And together, they knew they could conquer whatever challenges came their way. It was a turning point in their relationship, a moment that marked the beginning of a new chapter, one where trust, honesty, and love would guide them through whatever lay ahead. The caregiver sang softly to the old man, unaware his millionaire son was watching and changed her life. The following weeks were filled with a sense of optimism and anticipation. Anna and David had reached a new understanding, their connection stronger than ever. With the secret finally out, they were able to breathe easier, no longer burdened by the weight of unspoken truths. Together, they worked tirelessly to ensure the success of Anna's business. But even as they celebrated their growing success, something within David began to stir a nagging feeling that he hadn't fully addressed. David had always been the reliable one, the businessman who kept his emotions in check. He had built a life based on control, strategy, and success. But Anna had opened a door inside him that he had long kept shut. The more time he spent with her, the more he realized how much he had been running from his own past. The past that involved his family, his distant relationship with his father, and the way he had once been swallowed by his ambition. Despite the success he had achieved, he still felt a void, a part of himself that he had never fully acknowledged. One evening, after a long day of meetings, David found himself lost in thought, staring out at the skyline from the balcony of his apartment. The city lights flickered below, but his mind was elsewhere. He had been so focused on building his empire, but now, with Anna by his side, he couldn't ignore the emptiness that still lingered. It wasn't just about his father anymore, it was about the way he had distanced himself from the very people who mattered most. As he stood there, contemplating his next move, his phone buzzed. It was Anna, asking him to meet her for dinner. He smiled at the message, grateful for her presence in his life. It was clear to him now. He needed to make things right, not just with her, but with himself. Later that evening, they met at their favorite restaurant, a quiet spot where they often found solace in each other's company. Over dinner, David could sense that Anna was still struggling with her own fears of failure, fears of not being enough. He knew these fears all too well. It was something they both shared, this uncertainty that plagued them even when everything appeared to be going well. "Anna," David began, his voice gentle but firm, "I've been thinking a lot about everything that's happened, about my father, about our business, about us. I want to be open with you, not just as a partner, but as someone who cares about you deeply. Anna looked up, sensing the shift in his tone. "What's on your mind?" she asked, her voice soft. David paused, his thoughts gathering before he spoke. "I've been running from my past for so long," he said, his voice raw with emotion. "I've buried myself in work, in building something that I thought would fill the emptiness inside me. But the truth is, I've neglected the most important thing, my relationship with my father. And I've been afraid that if I face that, if I confront the way I've distanced myself from him, it'll change everything. But I realize now that I can't keep running. I can't keep hiding from the truth." Anna reached across the table, her hand resting gently on his. "David," she said softly, "I understand. I've spent so much of my life running too. Running from the fear that I'm not enough, from the doubt that I'll never achieve what I dream of. But we don't have to run anymore. We're here now, together, and we can face whatever comes." David looked at her, his heart swelling with gratitude. "You're right," he said. "I can't keep hiding. It's time for me to face the truth with my father, to rebuild what was broken, and to stop letting my past define me. And I want you to be with me when I do that." Anna nodded, her eyes filled with understanding. "I'll be here," she said, her voice unwavering. "Whatever happens, we face it together." The next few days were filled with a mix of nervous anticipation and determination. David knew that confronting his father would not be easy, but with Anna by his side, he felt ready. He called his father's care facility, arranging a time to meet with him, hoping that their reunion could mark the beginning of healing. When the day arrived, David and Anna walked together to the facility. The air felt heavy with the weight of their journey, but they walked side by side, both of them ready to face what lay ahead. David stood at the door to his father's room, his hand resting on the handle, hesitating for just a moment before he opened it. Inside, his father sat in a chair, his eyes soft but distant, as if waiting for something he didn't know would come. David stepped inside, his heart racing as he made his way to his father's side. "Dad?" David said quietly, his voice thick with emotion. "It's time we talked." His father looked up, recognition in his eyes. For the first time in years, father and son stood face to face, ready to confront their past. And maybe, just maybe, build a future together. As they sat down to talk, David felt a sense of relief wash over him. He had taken the first step toward healing, not just for himself, but for his relationship with his father. And with Anna by his side, he knew that he was ready to face the next chapter of his life, whatever it might hold. The caregiver sang, softly to the old man unaware. His millionaire son was watching and changed her life. As David sat with his father, the silence between them felt heavy, but it wasn't uncomfortable. For the first time in years, they were simply present with each other, without the weight of old grudges or unresolved tension. David looked at his father, seeing the man who had once been a pillar of strength and authority in his life, now frail and vulnerable. It was strange to think that, despite all the years apart, there was still a deep connection between them, a bond that had never truly been severed. His father, though not able to speak much, looked at him with eyes that seemed to convey a lifetime of regrets and unspoken words. "I've missed this," David whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "I've missed you." His father blinked slowly, and, for a brief moment, David thought he saw a flicker of recognition in his eyes. It wasn't much, but it was enough to give him hope. Anna stood quietly by the door, giving them space while still being there in support. She could sense the significance of the moment. It wasn't just a conversation between father and son. It was the beginning of something more. She could see how hard this was for David, how much he had struggled with their fractured relationship. It was a vulnerable moment for him, and she felt privileged to witness it. After a long silence, David finally spoke again. "Dad, I know I've been distant for a long time, but I want to change that. I want us to have the relationship we never had. I don't know if I can make up for the lost time, but I want to try." His father didn't respond, but David could see a small tear slip down his cheek. It was as if his father had been waiting for this moment as much as he had. David reached out, taking his father's hand gently in his. "I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. We're going to make it through this together." Anna could see that David had taken the first step toward healing. It wasn't going to be easy, but the fact that they were talking, really talking, was a breakthrough. For the first time, she believed that David could find peace with his past. She also realized that this moment wasn't just important for David. It was important for her, too. Seeing David face his father, confronting the past, and finally opening up, made her realize that she had her own work to do. She had her own fears and regrets to address, ones that she had buried deep inside for far too long. But as she watched David, she knew she was not alone. He had shown her that healing wasn't something you had to do by yourself. It was a journey you could take together. After that day, things slowly started to shift. David visited his father more regularly, each time making small strides toward rebuilding their relationship. The bond between them was fragile, but it was growing stronger with each passing visit. As for Anna, she began to address her own past, the fears and doubts that had held her back for so long. She realized that, just like David, she had been running from certain parts of herself, but with David's unwavering support, she felt empowered to confront those fears. They both knew the road ahead would not be without challenges, but together, they felt ready. Over time, David's father became more responsive, more engaged during their visits. It was still a slow process, but there was progress. David had finally found the courage to face his past, and in doing so, he had begun to heal. Anna, too, was finding her own peace. As their relationship continued to deepen, so did their understanding of each other. They shared not just their successes, but their vulnerabilities, and in doing so, their connection grew even stronger. One evening, as they sat together in Anna's office, reflecting on everything they had accomplished, David looked at her with a smile. "I never thought I would be here, with everything that has happened," he said, his voice soft but filled with gratitude. "But I'm glad I'm here with you." Anna smiled, her heart full. "Me too," she replied. "This is just the beginning, David. We've come so far, but there's still so much ahead of us." They both knew that the future held its own uncertainties, but they were no longer afraid. Together, they could face whatever came their way. They had learned to trust in each other, to lean on each other, and most importantly, they had learned to love without fear. As the sun set outside, casting a warm glow over the city, Anna and David knew they were ready to take on the world, together. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them as a team stronger, more united, and more hopeful than ever before. The caregiver sang softly to the old man, unaware his millionaire son was watching, and changed her life. As the months went by, Anna and David's relationship blossomed into something deeper than either of them had anticipated. They had weathered their personal storms, healed from their pasts, and now they were stronger together than they had ever been alone. Their business was thriving, and Anna had begun to see the fruits of her hard work, not just in terms of financial success, but in the impact she was making on the world around her. Yet, as they celebrated their victories, they both knew that the road ahead wouldn't always be smooth. Challenges still lay ahead, and they were about to face one that neither of them had anticipated. It all began one evening when David received an unexpected phone call. The voice on the other end was familiar, but it still caught him off guard. It was from his family lawyer, calling to inform him about a legal matter regarding his father's estate. David had known this day might come, but he had hoped it would stay in the background, far from his present life. The news, however, was far more complicated than he had imagined. The estate, which had been managed for years by his father's business partners, was now under scrutiny due to a legal dispute that had emerged after his father's death. It seemed that a significant portion of the family wealth was at risk, and David was being called upon to make some difficult decisions. The phone call left him feeling conflicted. He had worked so hard to distance himself from his family's legacy, focusing instead on building something of his own. But now he was being pulled back into the world he had tried to escape. As David sat in his office, his mind racing, Anna walked in, her face bright with excitement after a successful meeting with a potential investor. She noticed immediately that something was off. "David, what's wrong?" she asked gently, her concern evident in her voice. David looked up at her, torn between the weight of the conversation he had just had and the relief he felt from her presence. He knew he couldn't keep this from her any longer. "It's my family," he said, his voice heavy. "There's a legal issue with my father's estate. It's complicated, and I'm being pulled into it." Anna could see the frustration and uncertainty in his eyes. "What does that mean for you?" she asked softly. David leaned back in his chair, running a hand through his hair. "It means I have to make some decisions about the future of the estate, whether to fight for it or let it go. And honestly, I don't know what the right choice is. I've spent my whole life trying to move away from my family's wealth, but now I'm being forced to confront it." Anna took a deep breath, moving closer to him. "David, whatever happens, you don't have to go through this alone. We've built something incredible together, and you've worked so hard to get where you are. But that doesn't mean you have to sacrifice yourself or your values to please anyone else. We'll face this together, okay?" David looked at her, gratitude and relief flooding through him. For the first time in days, he felt a sense of calm wash over him. "I don't want to lose what we have," he said quietly. "I don't want to lose you." Anna smiled, her eyes filled with warmth. "You won't lose me, David. Whatever decision you make, I'll support you. I believe in you, and I believe in us." Her words gave him the strength to face the challenge ahead. Over the next few weeks, David worked closely with his lawyer, navigating the complexities of his father's estate. He made countless decisions, weighing the pros and cons of each. It was a grueling process, and at times, David felt overwhelmed. But through it all, Anna remained by his side, offering support, guidance, and most importantly, understanding. She never pushed him to make a decision he wasn't ready for. She gave him the space he needed to think, but always reassured him that whatever happened, they would find a way forward together. Finally, after much deliberation, David made his choice. He decided to relinquish his claim to the family estate, choosing to let go of the legacy that had caused him so much pain and instead focus on the life he had built with Anna. It wasn't an easy decision, but it was the right one for him. When he shared his decision with his lawyer, he felt a weight lift off his shoulders. He had taken control of his own future, choosing his own path rather than living in the shadow of his family's expectations. That evening, as they sat together in Anna's office, David took her hand and smiled. "I did it," he said softly. "I let go of it all." Anna's eyes sparkled with pride. "I'm so proud of you," she said, squeezing his hand. "You've done something incredibly brave." In that moment, they both knew that no matter what challenges they faced, they would continue to move forward, hand in hand. The road ahead was still uncertain, but together, they were ready for whatever came next. The caregiver sang softly to the old man unaware. His millionaire son was watching and changed her life. With the decision made regarding his father's estate, David felt a profound sense of relief. For the first time in what felt like years, he wasn't burdened by the weight of his family's expectations or his past. Instead, he felt free to live the life he had built with Anna, free to focus on the future they were creating together. As they sat together in Anna's office that evening, discussing the next steps for their business, there was a sense of peace in the air. It was as if they had both shed the past and were finally able to move forward without the shadows of old fears lingering behind them. Yet, while David had come to terms with his family's legacy, there was still the matter of the future they both had been building but had yet to fully embrace. Over the next few weeks, their bond grew even stronger. David was more present than ever before, focused not only on business, but on Anna and the life they were creating together. His dedication to her and the business was unwavering, and it became clear that their relationship was growing deeper by the day. Despite their success, Anna still wrestled with feelings of inadequacy. She had built her business from the ground up, with David's support, but sometimes, late at night, she would lie awake wondering if she was truly worthy of all they had achieved. David, noticing the change in her demeanor, gently reached out one evening after dinner. "Anna, what's on your mind?" he asked, his voice soft, but filled with concern. Anna hesitated for a moment before speaking. "I don't know," she said slowly. "It's just, I've worked so hard to get here, and I feel like I'm not truly living up to everything we've built. Sometimes I wonder if I deserve it all." David sat down beside her, his eyes filled with empathy. "You've worked harder than anyone I know, Anna. You've built something incredible, something that is all you. And you deserve every bit of success you've achieved. But you also don't have to carry this weight alone. We're in this together, and that's something I'm never going to forget." His words were simple but impactful, and Anna felt her heart swell with warmth. She had always prided herself on being independent, on doing everything herself. But with David by her side, she realized that it was okay to lean on someone else, that she didn't have to do everything alone. "I guess I've just been afraid," she admitted. "Afraid that maybe it's all too much, that I'm not capable of handling it all." David smiled softly and took her hand in his. "We're a team, Anna. You don't have to face anything on your own. We build each other up, and we tackle everything together." For the first time in a while, Anna felt a sense of peace settle over her. The doubts that had been clouding her mind began to fade, replaced by a quiet confidence that she hadn't realized she was missing. In the days that followed, Anna found herself embracing her role with newfound strength. The weight of self-doubt had been lifted, and she was able to fully appreciate the success they had achieved. She no longer felt like an imposter in her own life. She was exactly where she was meant to be. One afternoon, as they were finishing up a meeting with an investor, David turned to Anna, his eyes full of admiration. "You've come so far, you know that?" he said, his voice filled with pride. "I've watched you grow, and I'm in awe of everything you've accomplished. You're not just a businesswoman, you're a force to be reckoned with." Anna blushed, her cheeks warm at his words. "I couldn't have done it without you," she said quietly. David smiled, squeezing her hand. "We've done it together." And it was in that moment, as they stood together side by side, that Anna fully understood what he meant. This was their success, their life, their future. The next day, as they walked through the city to celebrate their latest milestone, Anna realized that everything they had gone through, the struggles, the fears, the challenges, had led them to this point. And with David by her side, she knew that there was nothing they couldn't face. They had built something real, something strong, and they were ready for whatever came next. The future no longer seemed uncertain. It was theirs to shape. Together. The sun was setting as they walked hand in hand, their hearts full of hope and anticipation for the road ahead. Together, they were unstoppable. The caregiver sang, softly to the old man unaware his millionaire son was watching and changed her life. As the days passed, the new chapter in David and Anna's life seemed to unfold effortlessly. The weight of their past struggles, though still present, no longer dominated their lives. Together, they had built something meaningful, a thriving business, a solid partnership, and an unshakable connection that continued to grow stronger with each passing day. The uncertainty that had once clouded their futures was now replaced with a sense of clarity, a deep knowing that they were exactly where they were meant to be. One evening, as they sat in Anna's office reviewing new business proposals, the conversation took an unexpected turn. "You know, we've come a long way," Anna said, her voice soft but filled with gratitude. "I never imagined we'd be here working together, building something that has so much meaning. But sometimes, I still feel like there's something more for us, something we've yet to fully experience." David looked at her, intrigued. "What do you mean?" he asked. Anna paused, taking a moment to gather her thoughts. "I mean, we've been so focused on building the business, and I'm grateful for all of it. But I think we've been so consumed with our professional lives that we've forgotten what it means to truly enjoy life. We haven't taken the time to explore other things, to travel, to try new experiences. I don't want us to look back and feel like we missed out on something important." David sat back in his chair, contemplating her words. He had always been focused on success, on the next goal, the next milestone. It was how he had been raised, and how he had lived much of his life. But now, with Anna's words sinking in, he realized she was right. They had sacrificed so much for their careers, and in doing so, they had missed out on the simple joys of life, things like adventure, spontaneity, and truly living in the moment. "You're right," David said, a smile tugging at his lips. "We've been so focused on the future that we've forgotten how to enjoy the present. But I'm ready to change that. I don't want us to miss out on the things that truly matter." With that, they began to plan a new kind of future. It wasn't just about business or building wealth anymore, it was about balance. They decided to take time off from their hectic schedules, to step away from the demands of work, and experience the world in a way they hadn't before. Their first step was a trip to the coast, a place neither of them had ever visited. They rented a small cottage by the beach, far away from the distractions of the city, and spent their days walking along the shore, talking, and simply enjoying each other's company. The trip was a revelation. For the first time in a long while, They both felt a sense of freedom, a freedom that came from being present, from living in the moment. They realized how much they had missed in their relentless pursuit of success. They spent hours exploring the town, eating fresh seafood, and soaking in the beauty of the ocean. They even took a boat tour to a nearby island, something neither of them had ever thought to do before. It was a simple adventure, but one that brought them closer together in ways they hadn't expected. One evening, as they sat on the porch of their cottage, watching the sunset, David turned to Anna with a look of deep affection. "I never thought I'd say this," he said, his voice full of sincerity. "But this trip has been one of the best decisions we've made. It's not about the work or the business. It's about us. It's about living, truly living, and being with the people who matter most." Anna smiled, her heart swelling with love for him. "I couldn't agree more," she replied. "I think we've both been so caught up in achieving success that we forgot what success really means. It's not just about the business, it's about finding joy in the little things, in the moments we share, and in living a life that's fulfilling, not just productive." The trip marked a turning point for both of them. They returned home with a renewed sense of purpose, but also with a newfound appreciation for life beyond their work. They made a promise to each other that they would never lose sight of what truly mattered, that no matter how successful their business became, they would always prioritize their relationship, their personal growth, and the simple pleasures that life had to offer. As they settled back into their routine, they found that the lessons they had learned during their time away carried over into everything they did. Their business continued to grow, but now it was with a deeper sense of balance and fulfillment. And as they faced the future, they did so with the knowledge that no matter what challenges came their way, they were ready to meet them together. The road ahead was still uncertain, but Anna and David knew that as long as they had each other, they could handle anything. And in the quiet moments, when they sat together and reflected on all they had achieved, they knew they had created something far more valuable than wealth. They had created a life of love, adventure, and joy, a life they would never take for granted. The caregiver sang softly to the old man, unaware his millionaire son was watching, and changed her life. As the seasons changed, so did Anna and David's life together. Their business flourished, but more importantly, they had created a life that was full of balance and meaning. No longer driven solely by success or wealth, they had found joy in the little things, long walks together, spontaneous adventures, and quiet evenings at home. Their connection had deepened, their bond strengthened by the shared experiences they had faced and the challenges they had overcome. One evening, as they sat on the porch of their house, watching the sunset, Anna turned to David with a soft smile. "Do you ever think about where we started?" she asked. David looked at her, a smile spreading across his face. "All the time," he replied. "I remember when I was so focused on building my empire, thinking that success was the only thing that mattered. But now, I see things so differently. It's not about the money, the business, or the titles. It's about the life we're building, together. It's about the moments we share, the love we give, and the future we're creating." Anna nodded, her heart swelling with affection. "I never imagined we'd be here," she said softly. "I never imagined I'd find someone who saw me not just for the work I do, but for who I am. You've made me believe in myself in ways I never thought possible." David reached out and took her hand in his. "You always had that belief in you, Anna," he said gently. "I just helped you see it. But you're the one who built this life, who made it happen, and I'm so proud of everything you've achieved." Anna's eyes sparkled with gratitude. They had come so far, both in their business and in their relationship. There was a sense of fulfillment now, a sense of knowing that they were exactly where they were meant to be. As the evening stretched on, they spoke about their dreams for the future. They discussed travel plans, new projects they wanted to pursue, and the life they still hoped to create. There was no rush, no pressure, just a peaceful understanding that whatever came next, they would face it together. The next day, they received a letter that would change the course of their journey in unexpected ways. It was an invitation to an exclusive charity gala, one that was being hosted by a renowned philanthropist. The event was known for bringing together influential figures from all over the world, business leaders, artists, and people of great wealth, but it was more than just a social gathering. It was an opportunity to make a difference, to contribute to causes that mattered, and to use their platform to bring about positive change. Anna and David knew immediately that they wanted to be part of it. It wasn't just about the glamour of the event. It was about using their success to do something meaningful. They began preparing for the gala, making sure their involvement would go beyond just attending. Together, they decided to dedicate part of their proceeds to charity, funding projects that aligned with their values and passions. The night of the gala arrived, and Anna and David walked into the grand ballroom, hand in hand. The atmosphere was electric, filled with influential individuals from all walks of life. They mingled, exchanging ideas, discussing their shared vision for a better world. But as the evening wore on, it became clear that this event was more than just a social gathering for them. It was a reminder of how far they had come and the incredible potential they had to make a difference. As the gala drew to a close, David stood by Anna's side, a sense of pride in his heart. "This is it, isn't it?" he said softly. "This is the future we've been working for. Not just the success, but the chance to make a real impact." Anna smiled up at him. "Yes, this is just the beginning. There's so much more we can do, together." With that, they made a promise to each other, a promise that their success would never be measured by the size of their bank accounts or the titles they held. Instead, it would be defined by the lives they touched, the difference they made in the world, and the love they shared. As they left the gala that night, the future felt more exciting than ever. They were ready to take on whatever came next together. The challenges, the opportunities, the adventures they would face them all with the same sense of purpose and love that had guided them from the very beginning. The story of Anna and David was one of growth, of overcoming obstacles, and of finding true success not in wealth, but in love, partnership, and the pursuit of something greater than themselves. And as they looked out at the city lights, hand in hand, they knew that the best chapters of their lives were still ahead of them. In this touching and inspiring journey of love and transformation, this story takes you through the life of a woman and a millionaire, facing struggles and overcoming obstacles to find success, happiness, and purpose. The story unfolds as Anna, a determined woman, builds a life from scratch, only to find her path intertwined with a millionaire's son, David, whose hidden identity is slowly revealed. As the two face challenges in both their personal and professional lives, their love grows, leading to the discovery of true success, not in wealth, but in the bonds they share and the meaningful difference they make in the world. These millionaire stories reveal how life-changing moments can emerge when you least expect them, and how love, kindness, and support lead to a future full of possibility. Through their struggles, triumphs, and heartwarming moments, these millionaire stories show the true power of partnership and how their joint efforts bring them closer to their dreams. As David and Anna's lives change, they discover that millionaire stories aren't just about money. They are about the relationships and connections that shape your legacy. This narrative highlights how embracing vulnerability, facing past challenges, and finding balance can lead to a future where success is measured by more than wealth. These millionaire stories are a testament to the fact that the richest lives are those filled with love, fulfillment, and the courage to live authentically. The journey of these characters in this millionaire story will inspire anyone who has ever believed that success is about more than just financial wealth, but about creating a life that is rich with experiences, love, and meaningful contributions.